This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
You asked Coach Pittman about Quincey McAdoo, and Sam Pittman was talking about he wanted to see him play. He didn't care if he missed a coverage here and there. He didn't care if there was a play that he didn't know. He just wanted to see him play, and he showed out. Interception, pass breakup, block punt. How much more do we see of Quincey McAdoo these remaining 3 regular season games?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Yeah, I would guess that he will likely start. The situation with Miles Slusher kind of complicated everything where, Malik Chavis might have to play some nickel along with Jaden Johnson. And Quincey McAdoo will be tested by LSU, and he'll probably give up some receptions. But he's got the speed, he's got the hips and, the talent. Is he a great technician yet? I'm not sure. But, the way he explained it was you tell him you cover that guy and don't let him catch a pass. Well, that's pretty explanatory. And he did a good job. He broke up a pass in the end zone that, if he can pick that, they may maybe deny one of Liberty's touchdowns. And he certainly just took a ball away from Noah Frith when, Liberty would have been inside the red zone and, could have put the game away. And honestly, that play sparked the comeback. And, if they've successfully converted the 2-point conversion, who knows, might have won the game. So Quincey McAdoo had an impact on that game, and Arkansas needs more guys who just make flash plays.
Miles Slusher not playing this weekend. No one really cares one way or another about Anthony Brown because he doesn't play, but Miles has an impact in the run and the passing game. Tom, how big of a loss is it not having him at Barry Odom's disposal on Saturday?
Well, it's big, but, they've had to get used to that because, he's missed, I want to say, 4 games already this year due to various injuries in the opener and then in the Bama game. So they've learned to deal with that, and guys have moved around and shuffled. And, look, LSU's got plenty of talent on the edges and in the slot, and it's going to be a real test for Jaden Johnson. He has not been the greatest in coverage. They got DeMario Douglas in the slot on him last week and had some big plays. So they're just going to have to tighten things up, and their pass rush has got to be a little bit better too.
Tom, we've been talking about this quarterback situation most of the morning. I'd love to hear your take and what you think will happen, and maybe if you had your hands on the controls, what you might do.
Well, the component where everybody who talks about this is missing is knowing exactly how KJ's feeling. We know that he probably has a very high pain tolerance, and Sam Pittman dropped out there that, he feels better than he did last week. Well, he played last week. Well, did he play and it was too much soreness the next day, et cetera, that you don't want to risk it? I don't know. That's why I think there's a little bit of a verbal game going on here, and it's kind of what Hugh Freeze did last week with the, Charlie Brewer's hand is swollen, and Bennett had the flu, and maybe he practiced a little bit more than Hugh Freeze let on. But, there's a little bit of a guessing game, and, they would have to play a pretty clean game with Malik Hornsby at quarterback. Because ball security has been an issue with him. They'd have to get a few more stops than we're used to. Maybe make something happen on special teams, have a special player or two on offense with Malik at quarterback because your margin for error is less. He cannot break tackles in the pocket. And, for instance, the LSU play last year that KJ made, that was the play of the game to Dominic Johnson, I don't think Hornsby can get out of that grasp. Maybe he's a little faster and doesn't get in the grasp to begin with, but he doesn't have the experience at reading everything that KJ does. I'm sure they'll put up a good fight with KJ and give themselves a chance to win, or with Malik. So, I don't know. I think he's going to play this one out right up till game day on whether or not KJ is healthy enough to go.
So I keep coming back, and I think maybe we discussed this Tuesday, maybe we didn't, but, from all accounts, Malik got the snaps last week in practice, and that still wasn't enough for them to go that direction. They watched them all. They still didn't, in my opinion, just based on what we're seeing, they didn't have enough confidence that they would rather have gone with a 70 or 80% or whatever KJ is over a what should be 100% Malik. So that, to me, tells you where the coach's evaluation is.
Well, yeah, we did talk about this on Tuesday, and the component here, Tommy, is that KJ said he wanted to play. I mean, he said he felt good enough to play, and when he's your starter, and as the quote from Sam Pittman from Kendall Browse was, he's our guy. You kind of go with your guy. I mean, he's led you some huge wins, and so that's why I think Sam Pittman was pretty adamant yesterday. He said it multiple times. We have confidence in Malik Hornsby, the team does, and the coaches do. We will see. I mean, there's a little bit of a gamesmanship to this, and I hope the quarterbacks are, kind of on board with what the vocal comments, the public comments that Sam Pittman makes are about trying to help the team.
Tom Murphy with us, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, Whole Hog Sports. Something else you asked for the SEC teleconference, Tom, was about Brian Kelly's dominance in November as of late. 17 straight wins in November. What did you make of his answer when you asked him that yesterday?
Well, I guess he was being a little bit humble about it. And I went back and looked up every one of them. I mean, there's Stanford wins, USC. I mean, maybe those teams weren't at their peak. But, Virginia, Navy. I think there was the Clemson win from a couple years ago that was overtime game, a big shootout in that one. So what it says is they keep their belief no matter if they have early season losses. They're physical in November. They're relatively healthy. And so a lot of things go into that. He made sure to point out on Monday that no kind of climate conditions are going to affect the mental state of his team. Like, we practiced outside in January and February. It was 50 degrees and 40 degrees. I'm thinking, okay, yeah, it's probably going to be in the 40s on Saturday, but could be a little bit frigid. So we'll see how they do. I don't doubt that the LSU players are on a nice high. When you beat Alabama, that happens, and they'll be prepared for this game. Arkansas, the chips are down on them a little bit, but I expect a strong effort from them.
You mentioned LSU players. We know that Joe Fouché and Greg Brooks are going to be the ones that Arkansas fans will be monitoring a good chunk of Saturday's performance. I heard Kelly talking about the players want to go get this boot back. We saw Les Miles struggle mightily at times in this series after they lose to Alabama or Friday after Thanksgiving, depending on when this occurred. How do you think Brian Kelly approaches this first rivalry game, and what do you think he should do, stressing or just treating it as another game when it comes to the importance of the Golden Boot?
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. One, if this was a Les Miles team and they had just come off beating Alabama, then I would think the Razorbacks have a shot. They had trouble, maintaining peak performance here and there under Les Miles. I think you have to give Brian Kelly his props. A lot of people said bad fit. What is he doing moving to the South? He's never coached down here. They lost their opener to Florida State. There was a lot of negativity with the receiver Butte, and they've managed to steady the ship and play physical. I mean, they beat Auburn on the Plains just like Arkansas did, but they really had to fight. I mean, Greg Brooks had to take the ball away from a guy late in the game, and I think they got a huge play from B.J. Ojulari in that game too. But the Brian Kelly regime is working. I think the players believe in what they're doing, and he's not going to overlook the Arkansas game just because they came off a huge win over Bama and have huge games left. I think they're going to apply. I think they're going to be very focused. It's going to take a very superb Arkansas effort to win this game.
Yeah. You think we'll see a turnaround early from the offensive line in this game? I mean, what do you accredit last week's, I think it's a one-off based on what we've seen all year. Is it going to be a one-off? How will the offensive line look different?
Yeah, they'll play better. I mean, these are bigger, better D tackles and D ends. I think the Liberty scheme just got to them, and they were coming high at KJ on the mesh, and it was making it tough for him to. He gave the ball to Rocket a few times, and he kept it a few times, and there'd be a defender on one of them almost immediately because the O-line was getting whipped, and they tried to get underneath that, and they just struggled to do it. I mean, they gashed him several times, 3 Rocket Sanders runs in a row, some A.J. Green runs, but they just weren't consistent with it. So I expect them to have a better effort. I also expect LSU to try to employ some of the same tactics because it is in their arsenal to confuse the blocking schemes and basically run blitzing. And when they look at last year's tape, they could see that when they came with total blitz, that Arkansas struggled to connect. I mean, it took KJ's Herculean effort to get out of that sack and hit Dominic Johnson on the, really the big play of the game. So I don't know. I think the O-line will be better. I do feel like it was more of a one-off, but it's also a result of when you played a tough schedule week after week after week and you're in that grind, it is hard to get mentally up for every game. And no matter what the players say or think, they were a 14-point favorite, and maybe they felt that. I'm sure Sam Pittman and the staff were very concerned that Liberty had, the fireworks on offense and enough scheme on defense that they could give Arkansas trouble, and that's what they did.
Football is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your football betting needs this season. You'll find the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all sports wagering info, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events like MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, and even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet Online, where the game starts.